He got the call at 2:47 a.m. from St. Mercy Hospital, a social worker saying Jake Morrison's daughter, Lily, was hurt and her stepfather wasn't helping. 16 years ago, Tom Hawk Daniels had promised Jake on a battlefield that if anything happened to him, he'd protect his little girl. Now that promise had come due. Hawk was elbow deep in a '73 Harley engine when his phone buzzed across the workbench. St. Mercy Hospital, Social Services. The name froze his hands mid-wrench. He hadn't heard that area code since Jake's funeral 3 years ago, since the day a 13-year-old Lily in black had gripped his hand and whispered, "You'll still visit me, right?" "This is Hawk," he answered. "Mr. Daniels," said a young, shaky voice. "This is Rebecca Chun from St. Mercy Hospital in New Mexico. I'm calling about Lily Morrison." The name hit him like a fist. "What happened?" "She's stable," Rebecca said. "But her injuries, well, they're consistent with a domestic incident. Her stepfather brought her in claiming she fell down the stairs, but the patterns don't match. She gave us your name. Said you promised her father you'd protect her." "I'm coming," Hawk said instantly. "Don't let anyone take her out of that hospital. Not him, not anyone. Mr. Daniels, her stepfather is—" "I don't care who he is." Hawk's tone cut like steel. "Jake Morrison saved my life in Kandahar. Took a bullet meant for me. The last thing he asked was to protect his daughter. I'm asking you, Miss Chun, to keep her safe until I get there." Silence. Then, "How fast can you get here?" 18 hours. He hung up, staring at his reflection in a chrome mirror, a scarred, 52-year-old man haunted by ghosts. He opened a group chat for the Steel Wolves MC, 96 members, spread across 3 states. Mechanics, teachers, veterans, parents, bound by loyalty. His message was short. "Lily needs us." Jake's daughter. Hospital in New Mexico. Domestic situation. Wheels up at 5 a.m. Not optional. Family. Responses thundered in, "I'm in. Reaper for Jake." Maven rolling out. "Count me there." Within minutes, the club mobilized. Before dawn, 97 motorcycles filled the lot. Hawk addressed them, voice steady above the engines. "We got 620 miles ahead. New Mexico by late afternoon. We ride tight. We ride smart. We ride for family." Diesel, his right-hand man, asked, "What's the plan when we get there?" "Protect Lily. Whatever that takes, but by the book. Her stepfather's a cop. We give them nothing to use against us." Maven, 70 and fierce, spat, "So we just stand around while that bastard walks free?" Hawk's eyes hardened. "No, we stand our ground legally. Chains is meeting us there." The name rippled through the group. Marcus Chains Wellington, ex-Steel Wolf, now one of the best defense lawyers in 3 states. "Mount up," Hawk ordered. Engines roared alive. 97 machines thundered onto the highway, chrome glinting under the desert sun. The convoy stretched like a steel river, a promise in motion. By late afternoon, they rolled into St. Mercy Hospital's lot. Windows rattled as the sound of engines filled the air. In minutes, the bikes parked in precise formation. 97 riders dismounted, silent, waiting. Inside, Hawk approached the front desk. The nurse's hand hovered over the panic button. "I'm here for Lily Morrison," he said calmly, removing his sunglasses. "Tom Daniels. Rebecca Chun should be expecting me." Rebecca appeared tired but resolute. "You brought quite a few people." "I brought family," Hawk said simply. "Where is she?" "Room 412, she said, but hesitated. "Mr. Daniels, there are complications." 2 police officers stood outside Lily's room. Inside, Rebecca explained, Lily's injuries show months of abuse. Her stepfather's demanding discharge tonight. Legally, we can't hold her without a court order. Tonight? Hawk's voice dropped low. "You're saying he can walk in and take her?" "Yes, unless we get emergency guardianship." "Then we'll get it." Hawk's jaw tightened. "But first, I'm seeing her." Room 412 smelled of antiseptic and fear. The girl on the bed was no longer the child from the funeral. Pale, bruised, but her eyes were still Jake's. "Uncle Hawk." Her voice broke. "You actually came?" "I promised your dad," he whispered. Tears slid down her face. He killed my mom. I know he did. Nobody believes me. Before Hawk could respond, Rebecca rushed in. He's here. Morrison's downstairs. With 2 officers and a lawyer. Hawk squeezed Lily's hand. Stay strong. Then he texted one word to Diesel. Ready. In the lobby. Officer Daniel Morrison stood tall. Uniform crisp, smile practiced. Tom Daniels, he said smoothly. Jake's old war buddy. Appreciate the concern, but Lily's coming home. With a fractured wrist and 3 broken ribs? Hawk asked quietly. Morrison's lawyer stepped forward. My client is her legal guardian. You have no standing here. Funny, Hawk said. At 16, Lily's old enough to have a say. Why not ask her where she wants to go? Morrison's jaw tightened. She's traumatized. She's not your daughter. Hawk shot back. She's Jake Morrison's daughter. Morrison leaned in, voice low. You don't know who you're dealing with. I've buried men like you. We're not the ones who hurt her, Hawk said softly. At that moment, the doors opened. Did somebody order a lawyer? Chains walked in, sharp suit, steel presence. Marcus Wellington, representing Mr. Daniels and Miss Lily Morrison, he announced. He set a document on the desk. Filed an hour ago, emergency guardianship, citing abuse. Judge Herrera has agreed to a hearing tomorrow at 9 a.m. Until then, Lily stays in protective custody. Any attempt to remove her violates court order. Reporters poured in as if summoned by fate. Cameras flashed through the glass doors where 96 bikers stood in silent formation. Morrison hissed, You called the press? Chains smiled. Didn't have to. 97 motorcycles at a hospital. That's news. The question is, what story do you want told? The press swarmed. Morrison postured for cameras, claiming he was a grieving father. Then they turned to Hawk. Chains whispered, Tell them why you're here. Hawk faced the cameras. My name is Tom Daniels. 16 years ago, Jake Morrison took a bullet for me. Before he died, he asked me to protect his daughter. Last night, she called for help. So I came. We're not here to fight. We're here because family matters. Because promises matter. The crowd went silent. The hashtag promise kept began trending within minutes. But inside, Morrison was on his phone, face tight with anger. He was planning his next move. By nightfall, the hospital became a fortress. The Steel Wolves set up camp in the lot. Sleeping bags, coffee, silent watch. Inside, Chains and Hawk strategized. Morrison's filed a counterpetition. Chains said, He's painting you as a dangerous criminal. I don't have a record, Hawk said. You do now. Disorderly conduct, 2019, bar fight. Drop, but still public. He's framing you as violent. Chains flipped pages. He's also liquidated $180,000 into an offshore account 8 months ago, right after Lily's mother died. Hawk's gut turned cold. She said he killed her mom. Chains nodded. And we might just prove it. Morning came with the sound of thunder, not from the sky, but from 97 engines revving outside St. Mercy Hospital. The Steel Wolves stood ready, black leather glinting in the sunrise. Their message was clear. Lily wasn't alone. Inside, Hawk adjusted his tie, an odd sight for a man who looked more at home in a denim vest in a courtroom. Chains handed him a cup of coffee. You ready? I've fought insurgents in worse weather, Hawk muttered. But courtrooms, those are a different battlefield. Chains smirked. Same rules. Stay calm, hit hard, and don't give the enemy a reason to fire first. The courthouse was packed. Reporters filled every bench. Their cameras pointed toward the front where Lily sat beside Hawk. Across the aisle, Officer Morrison sat with his lawyer, sharp, smirking, confident. Judge Herrera entered, her gaze sharp and unimpressed. We're here for the matter of emergency guardianship over minor Lily Morrison, she began. Mr. Daniels, you may proceed. Chains rose smoothly. Your Honor, my client stands before you not as a stranger, but as a man fulfilling a promise to a fallen soldier. Lily's father, Sergeant Jake Morrison. We have evidence of repeated physical abuse by the stepfather, Officer Daniel Morrison. Medical records, photographs, and a statement from the attending nurse. The judge turned to Lily. "Miss Morrison, do you wish to speak?" Lily stood, trembling but resolute. "He hurt my mom," she said, voice cracking. "And when she died, he said it was an accident. But I heard them arguing that night. He pushed her." Gasps rippled through the room. Morrison's lawyer objected, shouting about unsubstantiated claims. Chains didn't blink. "Then perhaps this will help." He handed over a folder. Forensic report from an independent examiner. Mrs. Morrison's injuries were consistent with blunt force trauma, inconsistent with a fall. This report was buried during the original investigation. The officer overseeing the case? Daniel Morrison himself. The courtroom erupted. Judge Herrera raised her hand. "Order." Morrison's face twisted in rage. "You can't prove anything. That girl's lying." Chains leaned back. "Cool. We don't need to prove it, officer. We just need to show reasonable cause, and we've already done that." Hawk stood. "Your Honor, all I want is to keep her safe. Until the investigation's done." Silence. Then the judge spoke. "Effective immediately, guardianship of Lily Morrison is granted to Mr. Thomas Daniels. Officer Morrison is under suspension pending inquiry." Court adjourned. Applause broke out. Cameras flashed. Lily turned to Hawk, tears her eyes. "You really kept your promise." Hawk smiled faintly. "Always." Outside, the steel wolves erupted in cheers. Diesel clapped Hawk on the shoulder. "That's how family rides." Chains grinned. "You realize the story's already on every major outlet? You're trending higher than half of Congress." Reporters swarmed him as Lily stood beside Hawk, holding his hand. "What happens now?" one shouted. Hawk looked at the sea of microphones. "Now, we go home, and we rebuild." But the story didn't end there. 2 weeks later, the New Mexico State Bureau of Investigation reopened the case into Lily's mother's death. Anonymous tips flooded in. Morrison's financial records surfaced, secret accounts, life insurance transfers, falsified reports. He was arrested quietly at his precinct one morning, handcuffed by officers he'd once commanded. When the news broke, the steel wolves gathered again, not to fight but to celebrate. Lily watched the report from Hawk's garage, where the air smelled of oil and metal. She turned to him. "What'll happen to him?" "He'll face what's coming." Hawk said softly, "You just live your life. That's what your dad would have wanted." She nodded, then smiled. "Can I help you with a bike?" He chuckled. "You remember what I told you about Harleys?" She grinned. "You treat them like people with respect, and they'll take you far. That's my girl." As evening settled, headlights appeared one by one outside the shop, the steel wolves arriving for a gathering. Diesel brought food, Maven brought her old vinyl player, and soon laughter filled the space that once knew only silence. Hawk stood by the door, watching Lily laugh with the others, her bruises fading, her spirit returning. He felt Jake's presence like a steady heartbeat. Diesel came over. "You did good, brother." Hawk exhaled. "We did good. All of us." "Yeah," Diesel said, then smirked. "But mostly you. The press want a name for this story. They're calling it The Night 97 Wolves Howled." Hawk laughed, a deep, weary sound. Could be worse. As the night deepened, the rumble of engines echoed into the desert. 97 bikers rode out together under the stars, not as rebels, but as guardians. Their formation shimmered like a river of steel and loyalty, cutting through darkness toward dawn. Later, when the engines quieted, Lily leaned on Hawk's shoulder. "You think Dad would be proud?" Hawk looked up at the stars. "He's riding with us, kiddo. Always was." She smiled, closing her eyes against the wind. For the first time in years, she felt safe. And as the convoy thundered into the horizon, the world finally understood what it meant to be a steel wolf. Not a gang, not outlaws, but men and women bound by a single code. We protect our own, no matter how far, no matter how long. That winter night in New Mexico became legend. A promise kept. A daughter saved. 97 motorcycles that reminded the world, sometimes family isn't blood. It's those who show up when no one else will.